and welcome to our English news edition coming to you from Canal Algérie. First, to the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, receives a phone call from his brother, the Tunisian President, Kais Saied, with whom he exchanged wishes on the occasion of the holy month of Ramadan. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, receives the Tunisian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Tunisians Abroad, Othman Jarandi. On behalf of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Algerian Embassy in the Netherlands organizes an awarding ceremony during which the Friends of the Algerian Revolution were honored. OPEC and its allies decide to increase the oil production with 432,000 barrels per day starting from next May, and the Energy Minister Mohamed Arqab indicates that Algeria's oil production will reach 1,013,000 barrels per day. The Moroccan people are undergoing violent repressions by the Makhzen security forces, and the deteriorating social situation has affected several vital sectors. Good evening, those were today's top stories. First, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Thursday a phone call from his brother, the Tunisian President, Kais Saied, with whom he exchanged wishes on the occasion of the holy month of Ramadan, as well as to the Algerian people, wishing them more prosperity and well-being, according to a statement released by the Presidency of the Republic. For his part, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, thanked his Tunisian counterpart for his noble feelings, while expressing to him and the Tunisian brotherly people his most sincere wishes, praying Allah Almighty to bless the two peoples and the whole Muslim community. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Thursday the Tunisian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Tunisians Abroad, Othman Jarandi. According to a communique released by the Presidency of the Republic, the audience took place in the presence of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad, Ramdal Amamra, as well as the Principal Private Secretary of the Presidency, Abdelaziz Khallaf. Let's now have a listen to the statement made by the Tunisian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Tunisians Abroad, Othman Jarandi.
I am pleased to meet His Excellency President Abdelmajid Tebboune, and I have conveyed to His Excellency a message of brotherhood and solidarity from his counterpart and brother, the President Kais Saied. This visit is part of traditional consultation and dialogue between Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune and Mr. Kais Saied. The two presidents are in permanent contact, and there is constant consultation between the two heads of state on central issues. Among the upcoming stations, there is the large joint commission, which will meet in the next few days, a point that will strengthen fraternal relations of cooperation and complementarity between the two countries. I also conveyed to President Tebboune the President Kais Saied readings of the various developments that have taken place, including the major changes and crises and their impact on our reality. Therefore, we must unite and face these challenges with confidence and cooperation. It is clear that no country can face these multiple problems alone, hence the importance of concerted action and unification of positions, which could further immunize us to move forward towards a better future for our people and our region.
للتقدم والمضي قدما نحو غد أفضل لشعوبنا ولمنطقتنا ككل.
Algeria and the United States maintain a strong relation, and they are working to further strengthen the bilateral cooperation on the issues of Western Sahara occupied by Morocco. Anthony Blinken reiterated his country's commitment to support the UN efforts. Ines Kalou has a full story.
American-Algerian relations are based on the mutual respect of their possessions. This is what emerged from the visit of the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Wednesday to Algiers. While describing Algeria as a privileged partner, the American diplomat stressed his country's willingness to work for the deepening of economic, educational and cultural ties, as well as the strengthening of security cooperation with Algeria.
The ties between our countries go back a long time, 1795, at a time when most of the world still didn't recognize our then young country. And Hassan Basha Dey, who ruled what was then called the Deylik of Algiers, signed a treaty of peace with our first president, George Washington. Since then, Algerians and Americans have developed our economic, educational, cultural connections. And our countries work closely together on issues that matter to the security and well-being of our people and many others. We talked about ways to build on our robust trade and investment ties. American companies here are helping to diversify Algeria's economy, training local employees, sharing knowledge, building long-term partnerships that are of benefit to both of our countries.
Blinken's statements were clear in addressing the occupied Western Sahara issue. The U.S. Secretary of State did reiterate the commitment of the United States to support the efforts of the UN Secretary General's personal envoy, Staffan de Mistura, to revive the UN-led political process in order to ensure a peaceful and prosperous future for the Sahrawi people and the region.
On the matter of Western Sahara, the United States supports the work of the UN personal envoy of the Secretary General, Staffan de Mistura, in leading the political process under the auspices of the United Nations to promote a peaceful and prosperous future for the people living there. As I said today to President Tebboune and Foreign Minister Lamamra, Algeria's efforts are critical to improving regional security and stability. That includes its counterterrorism expertise, the humanitarian and security assistance that it provides to neighbors in the Sahel, its demonstrated leadership in finding regional and African-led solutions to challenges. On Libya, Algeria has been a critical voice in international efforts to advance the UN political process and promote Libyan elections as quickly as possible. And as the broker of the Alger Accords, Algeria continues to play an important role in Mali, where we both support a return to democratic rule.
During his visit, the American diplomat noted that the two countries show a strong determination to further strengthen their relations at all levels, including cooperation in the field of security and the fight against terrorism, which remains the cornerstone of bilateral relations between the two countries.
In another context, and on behalf of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Algerian Embassy in the Netherlands organized an awarding ceremony during which medals were given to the Friends of the Algerian Revolution, named Margaret Koch-Baker and Mr. Bonman, for their support to the Algerian cause and the National Liberation War. A tribute was also paid to the historian Nicolas Paas, the author of the book entitled The Netherlands and the Algerian War. And on the same occasion, the Algerian ambassador to the Netherlands, Salima Abdelhaq, made a statement during which she said that the ceremony was held following the instructions of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, with the contribution of the Ministry of Mujahideen or War Veterans, a ceremony which aimed at honoring the Friends of the Algerian Revolution throughout the world. Salima Abdelhaq addressed on the occasion her thanks to the Dutch historian Mr. Nicolas Paas for his academic contribution, especially via his book dedicated to the Algerian Revolution. In another development, the President of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goujil, chaired on Thursday a meeting of the Council's office extended to the presidents of the parliamentary groups and parliamentary observer. This meeting was devoted to the study of the Council's proceedings agenda for the next period of time. At the beginning of the meeting, the Council's office expressed its deep sorrow following the disqualification of the national football team from the World World Cup 2022, calling the concerned Algerian football authorities to work and think according to a logic which puts the state's culture first, and this by acting at the level of the international region and continental football organizations in order to change the referees' choice and the rules they work with according to a policy based on consultation and coordination. The Office of the Council of the Nation continued its oral and written questions as well as the study of organizational and regulatory issues. Moving on to parliamentary activity, a plenary session was held on Thursday at the National People's Assembly, a session devoted to oral questions addressed to government members concerning 7 ministerial departments, namely the Minister of Culture, the Minister of Industry, the Minister of Trade, the Minister of Communication, the Minister of Public Works, the Environment Minister, as well as the Minister of Fisheries. In other news, OPEC and its allies decided on Thursday during the 27th ministerial meeting to increase the oil production with 432,000 barrels per day in May. This was announced by the Energy Minister Mohamed Arqab, who participated in the meeting via video conference. The 23 OPEC countries and their allies opted to maintain their plan to increase monthly production around 400,000 barrels per day, as decided in July of 2021. In a statement to the press, Mohamed Arqab indicated that Algeria's oil production will reach 1,013,000 barrels per day. Concerning the energy sector and in implementation of the emergency plan on the construction of 3 seawater desalination stations with a capacity of 150,000 cubic meters per day as a strategic solution to the water scarcity crisis in eastern Algiers. The Algerian energy company belonging to Sonatrach announced that on March 31st, 2022, the wrecked ship station started its first performance tests in anticipation of its entry into operation. It is worth noting that a quantity of water has been pumped into the drinking water network after ensuring that the quality of the desalination water matches the standards set up by the World Health Organization as well as national standards. It should also be noted that this station has a production capacity of 10,000 cubic meters per day and is intended to provide the region's inhabitants with drinking water, especially with the holy month of Ramadan approaching. Moving on to the industrial sector, the General Electric Algeria turbine complex is the first of its kind in the African continent, which specializes in the production of gas turbines. The details with Melissa Kabash.
First of its kind on the African continent and part of an Algero-American corporation. The industrial complex of General Electric Algeria Turbine, located in the province of Batna, is specialized in the production of gas and steam turbines in accordance with the international standards and provides digital services in the electrical energy field.
علينا أن نكون مطابقين لمعايير الجودة العالمية.
We are obliged to meet international standards in order to satisfy both national and international markets.
The Jihad complex is part of a large investment amounting to $168 million, which enabled the creation of 200 job positions and allowed the employees to be fully trained so as to face the upcoming challenges.
We are working with sophisticated materials. For example, the measurements are done with laser or 3D metrology. It is the first complex dedicated to the assembly of gas turbines in Algeria and Africa. My colleagues graduated from the University of Batna stood up to the challenges facing the electrical industry by satisfying the market's demands.
Inaugurated in 2020, the complex has already exported 2 gas turbines to the Middle East, and the demands for this product are still ongoing.
The exportation operation carried out in 2021 was worth $120 million. What we produce here in the province of Batna is identical to the United States production and the other complexes, knowing that this is the fifth in the world.
It is worth mentioning that this complex aims to expand in the near future, notably the creation of a subsidiary maintenance for turbines in 2024.
Violent repression, arbitrary arrests, and other heinous acts are still practiced by the Moroccan security forces against the Moroccan people, who, for their part, are determined to continue their fight through peaceful demonstrations. Lisa Kubash, once again.
Following the peaceful demonstrations carried out across the Moroccan territories for the past weeks, the Moroccan people are still suffering from the repression of the Makhzen security forces. Moroccans are still determined, despite these heinous practices, to denounce the Makhzen regime, as well as their terrible life conditions, while demanding their legitimate right to dignity. As it is the case with the paramedics, who once again took to the streets to denounce the precarious situation that prevailed in the sector, alongside the authorities' silence. According to paramedics, the royal family is living a luxurious lifestyle, turning its back on its people who are suffering from socio-economic crisis. Violent repression, arbitrary arrests of activists, and founding legal proceedings and other practices are all made by the Makhzen regime against the Moroccan people. Regarding the Moroccan Social Front, it is committed to its fight for dignity, condemning what it qualified as an act of contempt towards the legitimate complaints of the Moroccan people. The demonstrations didn't spare any sector, and the situation keeps escalating across the Moroccan territories due to the Makhzen regime practices against its people, who are determined to continue their fight.
And we wrap up our today's news with the National Secretariat of the Polisario Front, which reiterated its readiness to cooperate with the international efforts that guarantee the Sahrawi people their legitimate right to self-determination and independence, considering that the sudden policy shift of the Spanish government represents a shameful negligence against the Sahrawi cause. And with that, our today's news edition comes to a close. Thank you for joining us.